No plan. Doing another stream. It's not a problem though, because whenever there's no plan, I can always open up the code and just start thinking about some of the next prototypes to work on, some little ideas here and there. So that's what I'm going to do today. Still want to get something in place for extracting path data from PNG images, because I think that's going to be a nice, useful interface and really cool. So I'm going to just kind of poke around with that a little bit, and then I think soon I should get back to the Forge primitives and things like that, so that I can get back into doing things like tube and pipe design and all that stuff with the proper focus and whatnot. But today I have an idea or two about handling path data, and I'll just see where things take me and just kind of take it easy, because that's the kind of mood I'm in, you know? So let me just pop this up here and get right to it. I'm just also going to prep my comments here. Zip-doo. Perfect. Okay. All right. So, just have to remind myself what I'm doing, of course, because it's all a little bit messy. But that's okay, really. It's not a big deal. Just means I have to have a look at this stuff here. So we've got simplify sketch. This here really is the big ticket item that I'm working toward. Running that alone, let me remind myself what that looks like here. If I do ASDF, list of points here, if I run simplify sketch, the list of points with let's do 20 segments. Okay, so we get along a straight segment here, we get good point approximations, and then right here it gets really bad. Then it clusters like crazy over here, and then it's okay at this end here as well. So this is not acceptably good, and this relates to this segmentation thing. Assumes it's pretty much a straight line, so if I were to draw something that is a straight line instead, this would work a lot better, which I should get my iPad over here and do that. But the idea I have is instead we're just to try to come up with something that can identify a corner segment here, which I don't totally know how to do yet, that's all. So I kind of want to visually inspect. So instead of drawing pardon me, if I change this out to be just points, and I make the circle radius 5 instead, what I'm doing here is drawing a circle. Oop, I thought I would be drawing a circle. something's a little bit wrong here. There we go. I'm drawing a circle at every point of the polygon. Hey Biz, how's it going? Hope you're doing well today. I'm a little surprised at how close. So on this lower leg here, there's sort of a, like, the spread of the points along it are kind of more loose than they are along this segment here, and I don't know why that would be, but okay, I'll just take that as fine for now. I wonder if there's another thing I could kind of use to analyze the most likely position of a corner, right? Like if a section of points is within a certain radius, then it's more likely to be a corner? I don't know. A little tricky, right? Like this right here, that's like a cluster of, it looks like 5 points that are all within a really, really tight space. So maybe I could use that as an identification, but I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. And so what I'm gonna do actually, I gotta grab my iPad and get another drawing. Be 2 seconds. All right. I would love to be able to do like excuse me, to have like a WebGL canvas or something, and you could like draw on it like paint.net or something. Like you could just click your mouse on it and draw a shape out, and then it would live feed into the system here and make vectors out of it. But that's maybe a step or two in the future. That's not what I'm working on today. That would be cool though. Okay, let's clear this. I think maybe if I do a shape like this. Okay, let's go export that for a minute. Zip. Beautiful, beautiful. That should work. Let's just rebuild this. There we go. Okay, so once again, there is kind of a clustering effect right here in that wedge part. I'm not sure that that's going to be reliable enough to detect points or corner points, but it's kind of the only thought I have at the moment, unfortunately. What else could I do? Okay, so the first idea I have is something that I don't expect to work, but I'm going to try it out anyway. Let's make a new little segment here. Oops. We'll call this corner guessing, something like that. And the idea is points cluster very closely to one another on the inner side of a corner. So idea is to partition the polygons points list and sort each partition by, oh wait a second, that wouldn't really work, would it? Well, let's try it anyway. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Sort each partition by smallest distance. So let's just try that and see what points it gives us. So let's do define corner guess proto. And let's just take a list of points. So then right away, all I want to do is let's see here. Yeah, let's just, I think I can make this a one-liner. Sort by f/distance I think this will work. And if I partition 2 with a step of 1, the list of points, that'll create every possible pair along the outline of the polygon. No idea if that's going to make any sense, but let's try that. So what I can do here is corner guess proto of the sketch points. Probably need to do apply concat to sketch. Okay, there we go. We've got a whole whack of point pairs. So all I want to do is take the first, yeah, see, this is very close here, right? It's off by like a distance of like 1 pixel-ish. It's very close. So is this one. So the first bunch are going to be quite close. So what I want to do is, I mean, in fact, they're all, every single pair is going to be pretty close, right? Because the maximum distance one is something like these two, for example. Like, they're all quite close. So let's just take the first of the first as a beginning point for this whole thing. So if I do that, it should give me 1 point. There we go. If I just draw where that point is, I want to see what happens, or where that ends up being. So I'll make let's go back to this. Map, drop C, blah, blah, blah. Corner guess proto points. This looks super weird because it is, but that should work. And the circle size, I'm going to make it, let's make the opacity a little less here. The circle size 25, and see where that draws it. It should just draw a single point. Ooh, something wrong. Okay. It's a little weird to me. Points. Oh, of course, this is wrong. Let's try that. Okay. So let's do, how do I want to do this? So it didn't quite work the way I expected. I did expect it to draw a point kind of in this elbow area here, but it's not too surprising that it would also draw something near the end point of the sketch, because a lot of points can cluster really close there, so that's not overly surprising. So I wonder what the best approach is this time. Well, let me do change this corner guess proto for a minute. Instead of just taking this first, I want to do take 10 of map the first onto this whole thing. Will that work? I think that'll work. Let's go. Okay, so we're getting, by that logic of very close clustering, we are identifying the relevant positions, which is not a bad thing, right? So instead of take 10, well, it is quite promising, right? So we've got an endpoint, we've got a corner point, and we have another endpoint. They're just clustered. Okay, so that's quite promising right out of the gate. So just to test this out a little further, let me see if it extends reasonably well to other path shapes. Like I want to throw another corner in there actually. Pardon me. Okay, so let's actually go crazy with it here and just see what kind of weirdness happens when I do this. I don't expect this to work, but it should be fun to see what happens. Anything? Anything? Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a lot better. That performance is pretty good actually. So if I instead, so I arbitrarily did take 10, right? If I don't take any, if I draw them all, what does that look like? I kind of don't think that'll work anymore because it'll show a bunch of points not at the corners. So what I kind of need to do is come up with an approach that takes the clusters and then stops taking them once you know that the clusters don't match up anymore, if that makes any sense. right? Like here, see now it's covering the entire thing, which makes complete sense because I did partition the entire shape. So it is going to retrieve points at every spot here. But what I want, I don't want that. That's obviously not helpful. What I want really is only the first little bit of clustering. And that's the part I don't quite know how to get to yet. Right, so I'm hard coding the quantity to take, and that's obviously not going to be, that's not going to be good in a generic case, right? If there's no corners, I don't need to take nearly as many points to determine the endpoints. Right, see here, right, I have endpoint clustering, which is nice. And then I've got corner clustering here, which is nice, but on the wrong, like that's the opposite side I expected it on, but maybe that's okay. Endpoint clustering. Here I've got inner corner clustering, and it's detecting the two corners at that intersection there. This one is inner and outer elbow, and that one's the outer point there. So it's like zoomed out, it's got a red dot on all of the correct spots. Right? It's just a matter of stopping at the right points. Do I even know what I'm saying? So what I could do is some kind of grouping approach, right? Where yeah, I don't know. I basically want what do I want? I don't know what I want. This feels like an important realization that by getting clusters close like this, like by finding clusters, it looks like that's reasonably reliable for finding corners, which is a nice thing. Actually, while I'm thinking about weird shapes to draw here, let's see what happens when I go completely off book here. Let's do one like this. I don't expect this one to work, but let's just have some fun with it. since I can't think of what to do next, I'm just gonna throw a few different tests at it. Maybe that'll reveal something for me, you know? Never quite know though. Did that not build? Let's try again. Alright, let's see here. Oh man, that worked a little better than anticipated. So here we are already, we're at a point where, right, if I take less, this won't show. I'm gonna, maybe I'll eat my words, but if I only do take 10, I think this point will disappear. I think, but I have to see. Should also do this a little differently, but for now this is gonna be okay. Oh, not quite. Okay, so the cluster method doesn't totally work with curves. It would appear anyway. What if I only do take, how many points are there first? Let me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do take 6 and see what lands as a hit. How about that? How about that, huh? Let's give it a shot. Okay. I'm gonna go over here, run it one more time. Yeah, okay. So there's a false positive situation over here on the concave side of a curve. But it's not guaranteed to happen because there's concave sides on all of these curves that do not result in that spot hitting. So it's a little unclear what causes that, but for now I'm going to be okay with that. Let's just focus on straight segment stuff. So let me draw another straight segment thing here. And actually what I want to do is go back to a simpler shape here, just because that's a good thing to do. Start with some of the simpler cases and go from there. So let's go like this. And see what happens with this. All right, let's build this again, the new drawing. Okay, we happily have boom, 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 all of the points. But now what I need is a way to cluster them together based on some measure, which I wonder if there is a way. Let's see here. Clojure, cluster. That might just give me cloud infrastructure stuff, but clustering algorithms. This might be more than I need. Okay, well, It's a start point, but not what I'm after. This is kind of what I am actually searching for here. I don't know the words to, oh, this might not be a helpful site here. Okay. Okay, there's terms that I should probably be Googling that I don't understand yet. And by Googling I mean DuckDuckGoing. Instance. Is there a partition by? Let's see. This might, okay, so partition by f applies the function to each value in the collection, splitting it each time f returns a new value. Okay. Interesting. So I could maybe use that with some kind of radius predicate. So it'll split partitions by, I don't know, maybe. Okay, I'll think about that. I'm going to go to the bathroom for a minute though. Oh, that's not what I need. Be right back. Okay. So partition by might be helpful to me here. So here, if I go back up to this here, instead of take 6, let's do let sorted be this. And what do I do with that? Okay, so sorted is just going to be, it's now a list of points sorted by their proximity to other points. So all of the points that are very, very close to other points are first in the list. Not necessarily clustered next to one another though. That's the potential problem here. But what can I do? if I trying to think, if I repartition them, right, I should no, that's not quite what I want. I could do something like I really don't know. I'm really stuck right now. I feel like partition by, in combination with some distance calculation, is potentially useful for keeping only points that are in a tight cluster. But I'm not 100% certain about that yet. Right, so I could do if I do something like this, let's close this off here and let's just return sorted for a minute. But if I instead do partition by, and instead of just distance, I have a little qualifier here. So, whoops, partition by this function, this thing here. Instead of just partition by the distance, since the distances for most of these things will be not equivalent, if I instead partition by the predicate, where I take this distance value is less than 10. I'm not sure if that's going to make sense, but let's try this and see what it does. So if I do corner guess proto apply concat to sketch. Okay, so it does give me a small cluster of points. That's pretty cool. Does that make sense though? What if I make this like less than 2? Does that give me anything? It's only a small list. If I do 100 though, is it a much longer list? What? That doesn't make sense to me. I'm suddenly confused. well, this here, map v first, let's take that out of the picture for a minute and just get what this sorted list looks like as is, okay? That makes a little more sense. We've got all these distance partitions, okay? So wait a second. I think I might be heading down the wrong approach here. Let's just see what this returns, if anything useful. I kind of think not, though. Okay, so it is partitioning. No, it's not really. They're mostly lists of one element, which is what I expected, because the distance calculation is going to be like float values and stuff, right? So they're not going to be exactly the same most of the time. So if I do this, less than 100, most of these things, if not all of them, will be in a single partition, which does appear to be the case. Yeah, it is. So that's okay. That makes sense to me. But if I do less than, say, 5, we've got a few partitions, I think. All right, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's have a think. Let's get this back to where I was before, where instead of partition by, I just do sort by, and I just do apply distance between these 2 points. Okay, so then taking those, that gets me a bunch of points. But here, all I want to do is take actually, let me see what happens here. If I have sorted and I actually do partition by on the sorted points. So I run it through 2 things here, and then here I take this to be if the distance is less than 5, then you partition them all together that way. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure if that makes sense. Oop, messed something up here. Oh yeah, this gonna be this. There we go. All right, let's have a little look-see here. Some serious noise going on outside. 1 second. There's just construction nearby. That noise is just gonna have to be okay. What did I do wrong here? Shouldn't this work? What am I missing? Wait a second. I goofed something. Let's do, let's just have a look at this sorted list. Oh, right. Okay, so I have to do map v first to that. After all, pardon me, map v first. Doesn't even have to be map v, it can just be map because I'm just taking it as is right away, and then this should work. Let's give that a shot. Okay, here we go. Alright, so we've got clusters of things here, I think. Does that make any sense? Well, let's if I count this, okay, so it didn't work the way I expected. Let's try this. Really, I have to do this a little differently. I think I kind of have to make my own kind of recursive sorting thing, perhaps. Maybe. Let's see. I'd have to do it before this. Come on, really? Do. There we go. So I honestly, I kind of thought that this would work. So maybe I'm just thinking through this a little bit incorrectly. If I do, let me just get rid of this partitioned here for now. Okay. Oh, let's just get to the basics. I deleted too much here. Okay. If I just pass sorted here. Okay, so if I run this, if I count that, right, and if I count apply concat sketch, oops, I did it wrong. Okay, so not totally sure why I lose a single point here, but I'm gonna, if I maybe do it as partition all, that's probably it, right? Okay. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so the whole point I was trying to make, there's, in this particular sketch I'm testing out, it's made up of 266 points in the polygon. Running this sort approach here just ends up with one fewer points because it's odd versus even. It's not a big deal. Or because, anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'm just dropping one of the points in, I think, this part right here. What am I trying to say? These sorted points will all be, the first bunch of them will be really close to each other, which will indicate, like this here is a cluster of a few points. This is a cluster, this is a cluster, and this is a cluster. And those are guaranteed to be the first couple because they're sorted in a certain way. They're sorted by all of the points that have a small distance amongst one another. I don't even know what I'm saying. We'll have a small distance. Blech, I'm not saying anything useful. Okay, so A is that list of points sorted in that certain way. So if I do f/distance first A, second A as the arguments, does that make any sense? Oops, I don't want to do that. I just want... Why are they so far apart? Oh, wait a second. It's because it's right. So it's not that they're close to each other. Let me see now. This is a little complicated in my head. Right. So it could be so these are clustered. They're not necessarily sorted by global distance. They're sorted by local distance value. So if I now do another one called sorted, where I actually basically do the same thing, does that make any sense? No, I'll do this a little differently now. So now what I want to do is take not sure if this is actually going to make sense, but we'll go with it. Actually, no, let's try this one more time like this. We'll do partition now. No. Ugh, I'm second guessing myself a bit, unfortunately, today. But we'll sort by a little different approach here. Just sort by the distance between first of clustered and the point here. Okay, and then I'm just going to sort clustered. I don't know that this will work. I mean, it'll return a bunch of points, but okay, oh, whoops. Oh, I don't need this map first here. That's just X values. Not what I need. There we go. Okay, let's give this one a shot. This distance should be pretty small now. Okay. But now, that's a list of points. If I take 10 from that and draw those, I don't think they'll be clustered correctly anymore. If I'm not mistaken, it won't make any sense. It'll actually just be, the first bunch of points closest to whatever. So that's not exactly helpful to what I need. So that is a step backwards, unless I'm thinking about this wrong. So let me go ahead and do that. Corner guess proto here. If I do take 10 of those and draw that. Okay, well, it's not. No, it's not right. It is not correct. Plain and simple. Okay, so back to the drawing board there. Let me just take a whole bunch of them. What I expect is to see kind of this all colored red and this not colored at all, which is what I see. Okay, so that's obviously not what I need at all. That's just not helpful. So let's just to finally double check ourselves here. Take 20, yeah, it's just not correct. That makes complete sense because if you sort the points by the distance from a singular point, you'll just sort it as the radius goes out and out and out and out and out, right? Which isn't what I need. I need clustered results. But I need an intelligent way to cut off the clustering. And that's the part I'm still stuck on. Whoop, but now if I take 20 from this clustered approach, it will cluster around the corners more correctly. It's just not, I just don't know when to stop it. That's the part I'm stuck on. It's also true that these aren't necessarily they're not necessarily clustered with each other, right? The sort of these particular points is also not necessarily right. The order might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? Like they could be randomly scattered amongst those chunks, which just doesn't help me at all. Right? Like what would make more sense here is something like this, where I do what am I thinking to myself here? I really don't know. Okay, let me try to do something here. If I come up with this cluster method, I don't really need to do it this way. Hey, Colin's wife, how are you? I'm not sure that I've seen your screen name before. If I have, I apologize. It might have been a while. In any case, thanks for joining in the chat. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. You good? Nice. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. What brings you here to my slow coding stream? It's a slow day for me today. It's not always slow, but today it is a little bit slow. Let me see. You a fan of Clojure or programming in general? Hey, Amerison, how's it going? Good to see you in chat again. Saw that I had no viewers, just wanted to watch so I could motivate you to keep streaming. Hey, I appreciate that. That's really kind. I don't know how many programming streams you watch, but it's like quite a niche streaming thing. So you know, getting some viewers in is always helpful. I really do appreciate that. Marison, you're doing good. What about me? You know, I'm actually doing quite well today. I thought I would jump on the stream and get absolutely nowhere today, but I have managed to get a little bit of good result with this drawing algorithm approach here. But I'm a little stuck at the moment, so facing a nice little challenge, you know? So I'm in a good mood. In a good mood. So Colin's wife, did you do you watch programming streams? I'm really kind of curious how you stumbled across my stream then. If you just want to motivate me by being a viewer, that totally great. I sincerely appreciate that. It's always a little surprising when I see new names in the chat and they don't. Well, they don't. I don't know if you program or not, but it's just interesting to hear what brings people around, you know? Marcel Monster, can I please ban you? Why? What? I don't understand. What's going on? I mean, if you don't want to be around, you can just leave. I'm not sure I understand what's going on. That's weird. I don't get it. Is this some kind of joke or something? I don't follow. I do not follow. Okay. Let's see here. It was a challenge. Sorry, I like your streams. Marcel, so I mean, don't try to challenge me. I mean, if you like the streams, if you're feeling good, that's great. But I mean, it's a little. I mean, please don't like try to test me. Is all I'm saying. I mean, you're welcome to enjoy the streams. I'm glad you like them, but let's be professionals here, you know. So I'm not going to ban you. It doesn't make any sense to ban you. You've done nothing wrong. If you like the streams, I'm really glad. Just let's not play games around here. Let's try to be constructive and helpful. That would be my request. Hope you're cool with that. I'm cool with you watching the streams and participating, but we gotta be helpful here. Is really what I'm after. Fantastic. So Colin's wife, I do watch programming streams. Tried doing it myself. Got pretty confused. I was like, oh my gosh, numbers, letters here, random thing there. Yeah, you know what? I'll give you that. Programming is a little opaque when you're first getting into stuff. I mean, I unfortunately don't exactly make it obvious what's going on either. In particular, I'm not sure how familiar you are with different programming languages in general. This language I write in is called Clojure, Clojure. And it uses a different kind of notation. It uses this prefix notation here, where you write the operation you want to do before all of your numbers. So in something like a Python programming language, you would write 2 times 2 like that. And then it would give you an answer. But in Clojure and other Lisp languages, you write it this way. You write the multiplication in front and then all of the numbers after. The reason you can do that is it makes it really easy to chain a whole bunch of things together without writing the thing between it all there. Amerison, what's the easiest programming language I know? That is a fascinating question. You know what? I would it's such a typical answer, but I think you can't go wrong with trying to learn some Python up front. Python is quite accessible. There's a lot of tutorials out there. There's a lot of good code. There's a lot of get started quick code. Can't go wrong with Python. I'm a little biased because it's just the language I started with myself. But trying to think if there's any. I mean, Ruby is also up there. I don't know Ruby myself. There's also Golang, which is good for a little bit of everything. The easiest one I know personally to get started with is Python. The language I've been more and more comfortable with over time is Clojure. I hope that makes sense as an answer there. I hope that makes sense. But Colin's wife, if you're still tuned in here, I understand programming is very opaque initially. It is a thing that I'm pretty confident anyone can learn to do, though, if that makes sense. It's a matter of the time you spend learning it, right? Oops. Yeah, here we go. So this is a bit of Python code inside this note here. So in this case, we've got 2 times 2 times 8, right? And if I evaluate it, the answer is down here. But if I were to do the same sort of thing with Clojure script or Clojure, I can write it like this: 2 to 8, and maybe this isn't set up to work. It should work. I don't know why that took so long, but there we go. Now it's warmed up. When I first got into programming, what were my first thoughts? Was I stressed, excited, etc.? I'm very lost when it comes to programming, but I want to become like someone that helps the police with good PC knowledge and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what you mean there, Marison, but I mean, helping people out is always a good thing, so it sounds pretty nice. Biggest dream to become a policeman, and you're nearly there. Oh man, that's exciting. That's pretty cool. Colin's wife, sorry, I skipped your question there for a second. When I first learned programming, oh boy, I was in high school. Don't know how to say it from Germany, might not be that good in English. Oh, I think I understand what you're getting at, Marison. Don't ever worry about being confusing or whatever with if you're trying to translate a second language. Don't worry about that. I'll do my best to understand what you're saying. So, never fear. But yeah, you want to work to become a police officer, like a friendly hacker. Oh. Okay. So there's a Marison. I think you're talking white hat hacking, something like that. Computer security, that kind of thing. Sorry, Colin's wife. Let me get to your let me answer your question. So, when I first learned, I was in high school. In Canada, that's grade 9, 10, 11, 12. And I learned C++. And I was a nerd, so nerd. I use that in a sort of joking way. I went to computer club after school, so like after hours as an extracurricular. And we learned enough C++ to make a simple little game. I made a Pong game, but I loved it. I thought it was so cool that I could write symbols and functions and things and you know, with the right thought process, make the computer display things that I wanted and all of that. The intricacies of C++ compilation were just well above my head at that point, but it was really cool. I was so excited to get things moving on the screen the way I wanted. So I was excited then. My next major run-in with programming was C in one of my undergrad classes, and I just didn't get it. Like, I don't know what it was, but I had a hard time figuring out how to work that to do the assignments in that class. I mean, I had enough help and was able to figure it all out, but it wasn't exciting for whatever reason at that time. And then I had to do MATLAB and stuff. I studied mechanical engineering, so you learn a bit of MATLAB to do like matrix calculations and whatnot for labs. And I learned a little bit of a kind of assembly language, and we ended up controlling a robot with it. And that stuff was like kind of cool, but I don't know. It just was kind of like at arm's length, not extremely engaging to me. Mostly because you could tell our professors didn't particularly take those classes all that seriously anyway, so it just didn't feel real. So the next time I had a run-in with programming, I was on the job, and I started teaching myself Python to do a little bit of materials strength calculation. I set up a basic program to do, you could give some dimensions for a cross-section of a tube, and it would calculate the compression strength, I think it was, of a of a pillar made of that tube length. So it was just some very basic structural calculation stuff, but boom, I loved it at that point because it connected a real need to my ability to write it as an algorithm. And since then, I've just been in love with programming. The reason I taught myself Clojure was so I could learn a different paradigm and a different syntax, see if I could force myself to learn some of the more complicated things like what is functional programming, what is macros and metaprogramming, all that kind of stuff, and just been in love with that ever since. But the other favorite thing I had was programming with this thing. OpenSCAD is what it's called here. The S stands for script, and then CAD is computer-aided design. It's a program that you write programs that create 3D models, and I thought that was the coolest thing. It was fantastic, and that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on my own set of library tools that do that sort of thing. What you see on the screen today is, it kind of looks lame, but it's a big step in the right direction. This is a drawing from my iPad that I'm working on converting into CAD-based shapes and stuff like that. So I'm super excited with programming now. So Colin's wife, I just noticed that you gave me a follow. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. Hopefully that answer makes a bit of sense. So basically I started off really excited, dipped a little bit in undergrad, and then found it in the workplace, and boom, okay, I'm super in for it. I love it. And Amerison, white hat, computer security, to go loop around to that for a moment, that sounds like a fascinating thing. I'm sure, I don't know the first thing about it, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you have to learn, like cryptography, tactics, all kinds of crazy cool things, but that sounds like a really cool set of skills to learn. So best of luck with that. I'm sure that would be a lot of fun stuff to learn. Oh yeah, but Ruby, Python, and Go are great languages to learn. This is Python, Clojure script. This is all just garbage, but Go, I don't know myself yet, but probably want to start messing around with that for fun. OpenSCAD. I wonder. Hack for the good. Yeah. So actually, Colin's wife. There's two types of hacking. There's white hat hacking and black hat hacking. Black hat is the criminal type of thing. But yeah. Here, white hat hacking, become a cyber hero. There's interesting legality things with all of that kind of stuff, actually, but there's white hat hacking stuff related to Bitcoin and other platforms that use blockchain stuff, because there are bad actors in that space, of course, right? Anytime there's ways to make lots and lots and lots of money, you're gonna find some bad actors. And there's white hat hacking related to finding blockchain runarounds and blah blah blah. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just know that that's one particular area where it's, you could hack for the good of humankind. But I'm not one to really. I'm not sure what that word means. Arbiter. Maybe it's like a final study or something like that. Okay, yeah. Entrance qualification exam. Okay, that makes sense. Arbiter machen. I have to make my exam, yeah. I see. So one's A levels, we don't call it das Abiturmachen. I love it. Man, maybe one day I should actually learn German, that'd be fun. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if we have, I don't remember, I did not do entrance exams myself, but you kind of like you do your final courses in 12th grade and stuff like that, and then you get like your grade averages and all of that stuff, and your averages get like they're basically sent with your applications to universities and stuff like that, and then your university's like, yep, you pass the grade requirements and you can get in and blah 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 blah. If you want to go to school in the United States, if you're Canadian, you have to take SATs, so standardized testing and stuff like that, and it's a whole thing. But I made it into a decent engineering school back in the day, so I'm all happy with it. But anyway, if you're taking your exam soon, best of luck to you. If you spend a decent amount of time studying, I don't think anyone really would have problems with them. I would guess that you can make it work. So good luck. I think you can do it. And Colin's wife making sure everyone's above board in the chat. Thank you. Oh man. All right. Yeah, so I'm a bit scared I'm failing. Well, Amerison, I'll tell you this much. If you're sincerely concerned about it, there's a few things that are important to do. The first thing is to be calm when you're studying, right? And the second thing to do for sure is spend the time studying. And in my experience, the best ways to do that are to find example questions that could be on your tests, and to run through those examples and write like do the complete solution to your best ability, and then grade yourself and focus on the spots that you got wrong, because the spots that you got correct are already mostly in your head, right? So to do some sample questions and really redo and understand why you got things incorrect will be the perfect way to be prepared for those kinds of questions on a real exam. And it's such a good way to do it that if you have a subject, let's say literature studies or something like that, you're gonna try and use it. It's such a good method. Like if you have, I'll take literature studies as an example. Maybe your teachers didn't give example questions at all. Just come up with your own questions that you say, well, my teacher kind of asks things like this. Maybe they ask things like that. I'm going to write that question down and pretend that I'm writing an exam. And you just do it. And I could guarantee you that you'll feel calm and you'll have the ability to come up with good answers when you're on your exam. If you follow those steps, it's a breeze. It's a breeze. And study without the computer, without your screens on. Like if you should be studying now, but you're watching me on a stream, then you need to turn my stream off and go study. You know what I mean? You don't want those distractions. Hope so? Yeah, oh yeah, you'll do fine, you know? Focus on some studying, you'll be golden. See, the thing about... No, you wrote most of them? Okay, that's good. It's just a matter of getting those grades in, right? It should be all okay. Hmm. Oh, Colin's got some advice too. When you study, make sure you're in a space that you like and feel comfortable in. Take breaks in between studying and study somewhere you don't have distractions. That's my advice. Yeah, that you can't go wrong with that advice. When I was studying in university, the best place to study was always like a comfortable spot near a window in one of the libraries that was quiet on campus. Never studied in my own room. Well, I did have to sometimes, but it was never my best study session. And taking breaks, just walking around the nice, beautiful parts of campus, always helpful. The thing about studying is like it's and school in general is, I feel like the hardest aspects of it are understanding and working with the mechanics of your own mind rather than the material itself, right? So learning when it's good to take breaks, learning when it's good to force yourself to focus, those kinds of things. They take time to kind of figure out, you know? So I'm not sure, this is a subject change on my end for a minute there, but when you study in a space you like or uncomfortable in, you're more likely to focus on your work. Yeah, Colin's wife, that advice is fantastic. It's not even that complicated, you know? Sometimes it's just a matter of just being comfortable and you'll have a good time. So in case people didn't know or haven't seen this, these weird green lines are, I'm drawing them on my iPad here, sending it over SSH to this computer, and then trying to do analysis on it to get corner nodes and things like that. So that's what's going on, in case people maybe missed that. I'm not sure. I am also gonna go to the washroom for a minute. I won't be long. I should be like 2 minutes maybe. So stick around and chat with each other if you're interested. Be right back. I won't be long. Just gotta go. Excuse me. Sorry about that delay. Emerson, sometimes I feel a bit unchallenged and don't know what to do more, but later I'm not getting any grades that are that good. Oh man. So this can happen sometimes, where some classes and things like that are you don't necessarily have to challenge yourself when studying if you don't like to. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, school doesn't have to be a slog, right? it can happen in high school and earlier grades and things like that, where because a group of people have to learn together, it can be too hard for some people and too easy for other people. And it's kind of, unfortunately, I think, up to individuals to self-regulate and things like that. And the problem, I had this a little bit too, if it's too easy, then you stop paying attention and suddenly it's the end of the year and you haven't focused quite enough. And there's many causes for that sort of thing, but I understand a little bit what you mean. And I'm trying to remember what I did in that instance. I don't have any, unfortunately, really clear advice. I think Colin's wife makes a really good point, though, that you don't have to turn everything into a really hard challenge, right? If you have comfort and clarity and reasonable focus, I think it's okay if some school is a little easy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So it sounds like maybe the aspect that you might struggle with is not so much the content, like the actual knowledge that you're learning, but the focus when you're studying and the dedication to focus while you're studying. Maybe. Yeah, you really want that, but you have to get good grades. So I'll say this again. I have no doubt in my mind that most people can achieve most of the things that they want to do. And I would strongly guess that you are also one of those people where if you focus on it, if you dedicate the time and energy to do it, you'll be able to get there. I really think that most people can do, it's not that anyone can do anything, it's that anyone can do one thing, right? Does that make sense? If you choose to focus on this, you will be able to get there. So my point is, if you really do want that, I'm pretty confident that you could achieve that or something along those lines. But the real simple truth is, if you're worried about the grades you're getting, if you dedicate time and focus to very sincerely do a good job, then you'll feel better about it. The reason I always felt bad about grades was a sense that I didn't quite put in enough time and effort. It was never that I didn't, it was, if I didn't understand something, I always felt that I didn't give myself enough time to learn it. It wasn't that I couldn't learn something, it was that I needed to focus a little more. So really the best way to make yourself feel better about that is truly to spend a little bit of time studying. And you'll find that when you come and write the exams, you'll feel good. But I don't want to lecture you. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. Don't take it as me telling you how you have to do things. I'm just trying to be encouraging that you can do it. It takes a bit of focus, but it's certainly achievable to get where you want to go. I think that's true of anyone. If they have a certain thing in mind, they could probably get there. That's not to say it's easy. It's just to say it's possible, because humans are fantastic at figuring out how to get somewhere. You know, I think I think humans have so much potential to achieve a lot of cool things. It's just a matter of doing it, right? On that note, wise words. Oh, thanks. I don't want to get on my soapbox and sound like I know exactly what I'm talking about. This is just kind of my personal philosophy coming through a little bit, you know. I hope that's okay. Anyone is free to reject what I'm saying, of course. These are my opinions and observations only. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. I'm just one man. If you don't understand something or feel confused, you can never go wrong with asking for help. If you take advantage of your resources, then you'll find that you'll do better and find it easier to understand. Another great point from Colin's wife there. This is a complete tangent, but Colin's wife, wise words too. Yeah, thanks for this. This has been kind of a nice conversation, guys. It's fun. I like it. Marison, glad to help. Glad to have you in the chat too. You know, it's fun talking like this. You know, I program on stream, but it's fun to talk about kind of just things in general. So it's cool. Colin's wife. Sometimes I like truncate people's names as I read them. So I might accidentally call you Colin from time to time, and apologies there. That's probably not accurate. So if I slip up, feel free to call me out, and I do apologize in advance if I mess something up. I'm not trying to be intentionally wrong with names. It just sometimes I just get them wrong, you know? That's just how it goes sometimes. My pleasure. Okay. Yeah, glad to help with these things, you know? All right. Unfortunately, I haven't had any good ideas as to how I want to proceed with this particular problem I have. So, I'm a little bit stuck at the moment. You can call me Monica. That's my real name. All right, I'll do my best to remember that connection. Colin and Monica. Nice names. Again, I'm also assuming that Colin might be your partner's name, but Monica. Okay, it's a nice name. I like it. Right. So basically, well, I need a way to group these things by, like, just to cluster them up, and I have no idea in my mind as to how I will want to do that. But the reason I want to do it is if I can just cluster points by their relative proximity to one another, I can take those clusters, calculate the midpoint of those clusters to get an average position of all of the corners. Once I do that, I should just be able to sort those by distance and then have a valid polyline that covers the shape. Does that make any sense? It might. Ooh, boy, oh boy. Okay, so I guess what I could try and do is there's a new viewer. It's just me and Emerson, and now there's 3 people. All right, welcome new folks to the stream. Oh, they left. Oh, well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. So actually, Colin's wife, a little inside baseball here. I do my programming on one computer, and I run my stream from a second. It's not the most powerful. I need to upgrade it soon. But on this second screen here, I actually hide my view count. So because I found when I was streaming before, if there were 0 viewers, I would be quiet and a little less engaging, as it were. And hiding that number kind of forces me to, at the very least, just assume that any number of people are watching, and to try and verbalize what I'm thinking, verbalize what I'm doing on the screen, all of that kind of stuff. So I try to hide the number initially, so that it's so that I act in a more engaging, enthusiastic manner across the board. It doesn't always work, but I try. Hey Lumi, how's it going? Hope you're doing well today. Sometimes Colin's wife, I don't know how it works either, but the view counts are not always indicative of the actual number of people watching. It can be delayed, it can be wrong. It just, I think because it's a little asynchronous with everything else. Anyway, I personally try not to worry about the view count all that much. I mean, having a higher number is obviously nicer than a lower number, but beggars can't be choosers, so that saying doesn't even make sense in this context. I don't know why I said it. Blah blah blah. I'm losing my mind today. Anyway, Lumi, hope you're doing well today. I'm attempting to come up with some rough approaches for finding corner points and endpoints and stuff like that, and I have this first step here which works reasonably well, but it's not perfect yet, obviously. So been kind of spinning my wheels to be honest, but you know what, that's just gonna be okay for now. Get there, 100 followers or viewers someday. I know it. Well, I hope your enthusiasm holds true here. I think so too. On a bad day, it feels like a bit of a oh man, what can I do to get that number up there? I watch some people play games on streams, and it seems as if that's like the quote unquote easy way to do it, but I want to do it my way. I want to do things that I enjoy doing, and patience and steadiness could probably be rewarded in the near future. Just gotta hang in there. Lumi, doing well. Finally had some time to continue working on my own version of a Clojure compiler / environment. Oh man, that sounds like a cool project. Not sure how much I've talked about it before. You mentioned before something related to a... Oh, I just saw a little animation on my screen. I didn't follow what happened there. Yeah, Lumi, Colin's wife, Lumi's what I would call a regular on my stream, actually. Lumi is a professional programmer, probably knows way more about Clojure than I do even. Oh, you hosted me, that's what it was. Thanks, Emerson. Appreciate that. But Lumi, I don't know if this is the same project, but before you mentioned, I was talking about a visual REPL kind of thing, where you could evaluate graphics and stuff, and it would render right into the REPL as well. And I think you mentioned something about having a REPL kind of like that as well. So that you mentioned something along those lines. I don't know if that's related or not, but that sounds that sounds like exciting progress. Marison, you hosted me and you're streaming sometimes too. Okay, that's cool. Nice. Well, hey, I'll take it. No, no problem with that. Is there a chance that I can get something useful done here? That's really the question in my mind today. One of the last things I worked on was a Java agent to get proper stack traces and good debugging experience for Clojure. Probably port that to regular Clojure too. Man, that sounds great. I bet that the community would really like and benefit from that kind of thing, because a consistent frustration I hear about and do encounter from time to time is confusing stack traces and error messaging and stuff like that. So sounds like a useful project. Sounds useful to me. Okay. So this here, this idea, yeah, there's a lot of frustration. It's why I work on all this. It's not just that. Other thing is startup times, etc. Yeah, so the startup times thing I've experienced, and I understand it completely. I've personally found it that seems like less of an issue. Maybe this is just my personal experience, just because like you encounter startup speeds once and then you have a long running REPL process a lot of the time. It's an issue for large projects. Okay, so that actually makes a lot of sense. I would also imagine if you need to do any kind of distributed computing where you have to like spin up a JVM cold or things like that. Sounds like it'd be a good thing. Reliable dynamic dependency loading. Yeah, dependency loading stuff, yeah, another little sore point. Colin's wife, the funny thing about a lot of programming advancements and library things is they're born from frustrations that people have, you know? It's like, man, I can't stand this particular aspect of a programming language I use every day. I'm going to go ahead and fix it. And then there's a new idea, and it's amazing how often that happens. It's also amazing how much frustration we are willing to put up with, you know? If it's not quite that bad, sometimes you don't change anything, and that's a problem too. Doing a lot more talking than I am programming today. I hope everyone's cool with that. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly how to proceed next. That's the real problem I have. So I have I've done this. I partition the polygon's points into pairs just so that they're all next to each other. And then all I do is sort them by smallest distance and take the first 10 or so off that list. What I need to do with the next 10 is unclear in my mind. That's the real struggle. What I want to do is partition them by relative, like anything within a small radius. I want it to be together, but I don't know if there's a simple way to do that, or if I'm overthinking it. I always get stuck on things and I'm just like, you know what, I'm done with this, time for some pasta. There's always time for pasta. Well, hey Mike, good to see you here again. Sorry for missing most of the stream. Nose to the grinder for work today. How's the stream been today? Probably know about Java interop insufficiencies. Need to use type annotations. With newer JVM features we can fix it. Oh man, Lumi doing all kinds of work. Yeah, there's all kinds of little niggles with the interop stuff that just, there's more friction than you'd want, right? Just a little bit. Mike, your question, how's the stream been today? You know, it's been pretty good. I've been, well, I gotta be honest, I've been talking a little bit more than programming today, which I'm okay with. It's kind of nice to just chat, so that's been nice. Marison has been in the stream earlier, a younger German viewer, and we were just chatting about study skills and things like that, which was kind of interesting to chat about. I stumbled onto the first bit of an approach for getting corner points, as you can see here, and it's working reasonably well. The problem is I don't know how to proceed from this. So that's pretty much been the stream. It sounds like you, Mike, have been working a little harder than I have today. And Lumi joined in just a little bit ago and has been kind of talking about some of the projects he's been working on with solving some major Clojure problems, which is just totally fascinating. A little bit above my pay grade, but I love hearing about that stuff. So yeah, I've had a great time streaming. Looks like some good progress. No, not working harder, just some tedious stuff. Man, I know those days sometimes. You just kind of like roll up your sleeves, rub your hands together and dive into the stuff that you don't want to do. But it always feels good to be done at the end of the day. Okay, let me see if I could understand this partition by function. See if it's actually going to be useful for me. So it looks like partition by okay, so the partition by uses a predicate function, right? So basically true, false, or whatever. Well, no, this is a con, so it's a little, do I even know what I'm talking about? I'm not convinced that this is what I need. I don't know. Feels great to make progress, but goodness, I hate changing database tables and migrating the data. Not my favorite problem to solve. Yeah, fair enough. That doesn't sound like fun. My deepest sympathies. Well, you made it through. I'm assuming. Maybe you're not done yet, in which case, good luck. Actually, I'm gonna make the circle radius smaller and just redraw this so I can see the actual distribution of the points. Well, now I don't see anything. Yeah, so see, this is still kind of a trick here, right? Like I've got a cluster on the inner elbow and the inner edge and outer edge of the elbow on both of these here, on this two and this two. But here I only have it on the outer, not on the inner, so it's not necessarily guaranteed to show up there unless I, like if I take 30, Does that work? No, that just put more here, right? And now we're getting incorrect points here as well, right? So, I basically need to check well, let's see what makes sense here. I'm gonna try come up with something, see if it makes any sense whatsoever. Colin's wife, you're listening to the stream while you're painting a tree with falling leaves on it. Sister's friend wanted to paint your sister's nursery because your sister's 8.5 months pregnant. Well, that sounds like such a nice thing to do. And congratulations, that's exciting. I've got 3 sisters and a brother, so I've got a big family. Yeah, congrats to your sister, absolutely. I'm the oldest in my family, but the sister who's just a year younger than me has had she's got a baby daughter recently, and man, oh man, we have a sibling group chat, and we are just obsessed with our new niece. She's so lovely, and it's very exciting. So, Colin's wife, that sound Monica, right? You said that's very exciting. All the best. Little kids are so funny, because like you put a kid in a room full of adults and everyone's just like staring at them, not doing anything. You're just looking at this kid for so long. It like makes a noise and everyone goes crazy. It's hilarious. I love it. Oh, that's exciting. Can't say I painted a room though. Unfortunately. It's a little hard to see our family sometimes because of pandemic concerns, that sort of thing. But when we get a chance to see our little niece in person, we just eat it up. It's the best time. All right, so I want to try get something here. That's all I want to do. Something. Made it as you were in the bathtub, went to grab something, made it as far as the playroom. Baby on the run. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, fairness to you, you're at least eating cake. Kids will eat anything. Kids will eat anything. Unless it's actual food, I guess, and then they have a hard time. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's amazing we all make it to adulthood, Nah, of course, parents are an important part of us making it, right? Oh man, that's so exciting. Okay, let's just try to sort this. Okay, so if I take the partition by 2 with a step size of 1, the clustered elements, right? Then I get a complete list. I get all the pairs of points again. And since they're sorted by their local size already, Kids can definitely get themselves into trouble if you don't have eyes on them. Tried to go down the stairs at my parents' house on a rocking horse. Was not successful. I'll admit this though, like even as an adult, that would be a tempting experiment, you know? You know the rocking horse, they've got those nice sled-like things and a staircase is a nice slope. I mean, you know, put 2 and 2 together, that sounds like a fun time. Oh, that's so funny. Don't be tempted, you tumble. You know, so when we were all kids at my parents' place, we had a staircase, carpeted and everything, but we also had like these weird sort of yoga mat things that we would always play with. We'd sit at the top step and we'd roll the yoga mat over our knees and then we'd like sled down the stairs. And we would take the couch cushions off the couch and just load the bottom of the staircase full of cushions. So we'd effectively just speed down the stairs and tumble into the cushions. So we made a game out of that all the time. My mom was never a huge fan, but we more or less made it out okay. Oh man, it's all about the confidence as a baby though. You know, you gotta go for it. You just assume your parents will take care of you. Right, so if I partition those 2 by 1 and then oh wait, no, this is wrong. I'm doing this a little bit wrong here. So let's partition by some function, which I'll write in a moment. And then here I want to partition by do one cluster. Okay, so I think I tried this already, but I'm just going to go for it again. That's much better because you aren't nearly as top heavy. Understanding physics and gravity now as an adult, I'm not sure I would recommend. Fair enough. I am, of course, joking. It's very clearly a bad idea, but I can understand how a kid might arrive at that conclusion as fun to try. Oh, kids, they're so funny. Let's put some magic number in there for a moment. 10 is greater than apply f/distance between these 2 things here. My head's really stuck on this solution. I just don't know what else to try right now. And I'm running a little short on time for the stream today, so we'll just kind of poke around with numbers until we get something kind of reasonable. So let's do corner guess proto of apply concat to the sketch. Oh, did something wrong. Oh, what did I miss here? Oh, this is just partition, not partition by. There we go. There we go. Hey, we got a list. I had a mat that was fairly big, fit in the stairs. Stairs were a bit steep, sat on the mat and slid down halfway, and then grabbed onto the handlebar and flew and landed on the couch. That sounds like fun. Mom said that reminded her of Tarzan. Yeah, it sounds like it. So we, at my parents' place growing up, they, our family business is greenhouses and greenhouse manufacturing. So we had greenhouses in our backyard, and we were allowed to go on the weekends and play around in there. And they had like boxes stacked up in the warehouse sections. So we would, when we were just a little older, we would take our bikes and our skateboards and longboards, and we'd zip around all afternoon. And we would climb on these boxes too, and we eventually got confident enough we would climb all the way up, and then there were trusses across the hallways and stuff, and we'd like monkey bar our way across the trusses, and like, you know, if you slip, you'd land on your feet about 8-foot drop down and all that kind of stuff. And oh, we had the best time. It was so much fun. So the Tarzan stuff, I live for that stuff. I totally get it. Did this partitioning do anything for me? That's kind of my question here. It doesn't really look like it. Let's see. So what I want to do actually is just take the first, let's do map v second over the first. Let's see what this looks like. I don't know that it's going to make any sense, but that's a list of numbers, which is helpful. Okay, where am I at here? Okay, let's just run this and see what happens. How about that? I'm into that. Sounds like fun. And I'm also going to make, where am I here? Here it is. Make that bigger again. Ooh, okay, we're much closer now, unless I didn't actually redo this properly. Okay, so that was actually a step in the right direction. Right, so that was a list. How long is that list of, whoops, what did I do? Oh no. Okay, no, we're good. Unmatched bracket or quote. Yeah. Quit your whining. I'll figure that out later. This, okay, that's building okay, that's good. All right, let's go here. That's a list of how many points? 9, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 corners or endpoints, which is better. Well, let's see, how does this fare? I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna try another simple shape here. Let's go back to this, no, let's do an even simpler one. Oop. Okay. I'm really loving, like it's not the smoothest, but like as a prototyping sort of approach, I'm really loving that I can actually just draw things on my iPad and turn it into SVG on my computer here. Like that's so cool to me. Ooh, it didn't work at all. Okay. 1 step forward, 2 steps back, I guess. All right, what's the deal with that? Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so this still does leave me with an issue, and that issue is the clusters might not be. How long has the stream been going? I've been on for 2 hours and 11 minutes according to my computer here. Some of my longest streams are, I think, 3 hours. I have not done a super long stream yet. I don't know, Monica, what you consider to be a long stream. I know people who play games will sometimes stream literally for the day, so like 6+ hours, maybe 8 hours. I'm not sure that I would enjoy that if I was programming all day. As in, I have programmed all day before, but there is a point where verbalizing it all out loud starts to get a little like tiring. And sometimes I'll spend half an hour like this just kind of thinking, and that's not exactly entertaining. So I feel as if an 8-hour programming stream would be a bit excessive. But this one's been going 2 hours, 12 minutes. That's the answer there. Oh, Mike, there's a shows on the desktop version. Yeah, actually, so I've watched streams on desktop. I've never actually used mobile to watch streams, so that's a good question. I don't even know if it does show there. Someone once streamed for 75 hours on Streamlabs without knowing. Oh man, that's a nightmare. I would be terrified of that. Like when I finish my streams, I close all of the programs, turn off my stream computer, unplug the video source, unplug my mic, and wait just to make sure that like I'm not accidentally streaming anymore, because that'd just be horrible, really. Like not like it would be anything bad, it'd just be embarrassing, you know, like ugh. I'd be doing the same thing, yeah. Pull all the power plugs out, throw the computer away, get a new computer for the next stream. Obviously I'm joking, but like that's what it feels like, is like, okay, I gotta make sure, unplug the router, go to the breaker, flip my power off for 10 minutes. That's obviously not true, but boy, it certainly feels like it's necessary sometimes. Okay, so this here, taking the first is not good enough necessarily. There's someone famous too. Yeah. It's a really easy mistake to make, right? Like it's not hard to accidentally hit a button and just be streaming. Like I can see that. I'm surprised you don't hear about it a little more often, right? Because there's no massive indicator necessarily saying, hey, you're streaming right now, you know? Oh, nightmare. Nightmare. So I'm a little disappointed that my approach here is just not quite working. I'm almost certain there's an intelligent way to do effective clustering where you get a group of points and you put them in the same group if they're all within a certain radius and you otherwise exclude them. And then you just do that for every cluster, and then you get groups that are close together. But I'm not going to have the brain power to do that today. I guess there's algorithms for clustering that I could learn. And they're probably not too bad. It makes sense that data science would be an area with that kind of thing. Not even sure how it was able to survive if it wasn't on a charger. It probably was on a charger. 75 hours, I don't think there's a single laptop in existence that actually goes for 75 hours on a charge, especially if it's streaming. Yeah, actually, that's so the computer I'm currently using to stream is a laptop, but it's getting a little long in the tooth. I mean, it still works okay, and I don't like throwing out tech if I can still get good use out of it. But this laptop, I was streaming with it one day, and I noticed the keyboard was bulging up. And so I thought, okay, that looks like a battery problem because it's a thin laptop. So I took it all apart, pulled the battery out. Sure enough, there's a nice big bulge in the middle of it. And it, if a battery starts to bulge, you're like, okay, this probably is not that safe to use. So I completely unplugged it and I left it out on the patio and stuff, so if it burst into flame overnight, it would be in a safe spot and wouldn't cause fire. And so I threw the battery away, like in a proper battery disposal and everything, and now the laptop I have is permanently stuck to its charger because if I unplug it, there's no battery at all. So Mike is completely I'm completely in the category of what Mike is saying, where if you stream with a laptop, you put it on a charger. In my case, if I ever use this laptop, it's on a charger. Ridiculous. If that was on a battery, the person needs to get a patent and get rich. Yeah, for sure. I mean, unless it's like, a stack of like 50 Nokia batteries all wired together or something super weird like that, or or it's one of those Tesla home batteries or something, in which case it's cool, but that kind of isn't a portable battery. So these clustering algorithms are probably what I have to start studying to really achieve what I'm trying to go after here. K-means. I'm sure this isn't even that difficult. I'm just not in the mood to really try hard at the moment, if I'm being completely honest. But let me write a little note here for myself. So with partitioning and sorting, I can sort points by their closeness to their next neighbor, taking 10 to 30 points from that sort gets me endpoint and corner clusters. The issue is I don't know how to only take relevant points. If I take every point, I just have all of the polygon points, which is useless. K-means or other clustering algorithms seem like the right approach. I basically need to group points by a small radius, something like that. Yeah, talking about batteries, and you only got 3%. Well, that's funny. Let's see. Maybe this isn't. Mean shift clustering. Oh, you know what? Maybe mean shift is actually more what I want. I don't know. Well, this is not going to be... Okay, this... that looks actually more promising without reading properly. Mean shift clustering. Or maybe even this. All right, I gotta check something. I'll actually be back in just a second. Won't be long. All right, you got my charger? You made it, Monica. Good sprint. That is the worst feeling when you need your phone or device for something and you just notice that it's gonna shut down in like 2 minutes. Gotta sprint. Gaussian mixture models. Okay, so there's definitely a few different choices I have for clustering here. Looks like I've got my work cut out for me though. I don't even know what all these words mean at this point. So this particular cluster type here, where they're kind of bunched groups like that, it seems like I could do a few different types here. The problem with k-means, cat stepping on the keyboard, classic cats, classic. I expect nothing less. So my typo policy is if I understand what was meant, I don't worry about typos, you know? Like, they happen. We're humans, we got these fingers and can't always press the keys right. Sometimes there's cats in the way. No sweat. If the meaning is understood, typos are okay. My guess as to the correct algorithm to try first is probably mean shift. that just because k-means, they said something about needing to know the number of clusters beforehand, which isn't helpful in my case. This one, density-based spatial clustering, also seems like it's probably very useful for analyzing more complex shapes. So this is an iterative thing, which Clojure has the ability to do iterations, so that's good. It's no problem. It's just a little tedious to set up, but so be it, that's fine. Yeah, so yeah, so this here is why I think it's useful. There is no need to select the number of clusters, as mean shift automatically discovers this. And cluster centers converge toward the points of maximum density, which is useful. So what I don't know, I have no intuition for this yet. I don't know if k-means will help me in a situation like this. If I do apply concat to the points directly, and I make the, keep getting lost in my own code here. Let's run this. If I, ooh, that's a little, let's make it 8 instead. There we go. Okay. So if I were to run the means shift algorithm on this set of points, I don't know, like, would it correctly converge on there being something here? Because that is a spot of a little bit higher density, but this here looks like a high density spot, and so does this. So it might not be reliable enough to find everything. That's the little issue I see cropping up. A quick way to tell is kind of to, if I go back to this, if I change this back to, just do take 10 of clustered, that should work, right? Yeah, so I get kind of good clusters there. That's okay. All right, everyone, gotta head out. Glad I was able to catch a bit of the stream. Yeah, Mike, glad you could join us too. It's always fun to have people chatting in the stream, like I keep saying, but I keep meaning it. So thanks for joining in. Yeah, it was good. Good stream today. Hopefully you have a good night there, Mike. Okay. So I'm on the right track with these being good clusters. Man, I'm so stuck with how to approach this, unfortunately. It's bugging me a little bit, unfortunately. It is bugging me. So well, okay. Do I have anything else I could think to try? If I just do this, let's make this 15, and I want to take 3 from this. Yeah, okay, that's not good enough. I could do... Maybe. This is a crazy idea. Maybe this will work. I have one idea I can try before I leave for the day. Hate it when I get into situations like this because it stresses me out. Then I just end up closing my laptop and binge watching Netflix. Oh man, the temptation is there sometimes, but for myself, if I have some semblance of progress, like even the tiniest little idea, I can often just try one thing and then try one thing, and it stacks up and it's an hour later and I've actually solved a problem. It doesn't always happen that way, and the call of Netflix is tempting, especially as the sun goes down, you know? The day gets darker and your desire to work just plummets. At least that's my experience, but I have just one more idea that I do want to try out before I end the stream. And I think it might be okay. And that would be, there's a take while function, right? Let's do this. I wonder if I can just make my life a little easier here with this. Okay, I'm just gonna do... Yeah, when the sun goes down, I feel like it's time to relax, do something other than work. I feel more tempted to work during the daytime rather than noon. Yeah, there's like so when it comes to work, kind of like we were saying with study before, right? Where you want to be in a calm place. I also feel like with work and study for that matter, you want a time and a place that is separate from other things that you do. That way your brain almost clicks automatically into a work mode. It's like if I have to work out from home for a while, it's really a little difficult for me to work out. But when I can go back to my gym, I can work out. I could just go to the gym and I guaranteed I can get a workout done, no problem. It's that the space separation makes a difference, but the time separation for some reason makes a massive difference too. The brain is a crazy thing. It's better to work with it than against it, I guess. Okay, so this last idea I have is basically instead of sort by, what I actually want to do is try take while. Oh no, I do need to sort by first, and then this one I need to do take while. So let me zip this like that, and then I'll do this one here, take while, the distance is less than blah. Okay, so let's give that a shot. Take while, take while, distance is less than 5 between the partitions, which I don't have to partition here actually. I can just run it on the clustered list because I didn't map first over that. So let's see if this will work. Let's try it. Let's do map first over this whole set of things. Whoops. Okay, let's give that a shot. Did I mess up this let statement here? What did I do? I did something wrong. Take while, that's fine. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so let's just return S, and then we'll run that in the REPL and see what's up with that. It's 442 in Manassas. What's VA again? No, I was gonna say Vermont, but that doesn't make sense. I'm not sure where that is, to be honest. What is VA? I'm assuming that's a state code or whatever they're called. It would be East Coast, right? Because that's the same time I've got. Unless I'm way out to lunch and I don't know what I'm talking about. I might be losing my mind. It's a possibility. Oops. Virginia, there we go. That makes sense. It's first and last letter. I was stuck, my brain said V, Vermont, and then I could not think of any other states. I'm Canadian, so I don't necessarily have all of them memorized perfectly. That's not really an excuse, that's just it is true. I don't have them all memorized. Okay, if I do corner guess proto, this didn't work. Wait a second. Oh, no, that, Let's do this. Maybe nothing is changing here. I'd usually work until 7 p.m., but since it gets dark at 5, I have 2 hours less to work. Not always a bad thing, but sometimes if you don't get enough done in a day, it feels like, oh, where'd all my time go, right? Where does the time go? There's certainly, if I could make it so, I'd make days like 30 hours long instead of 24. I'm sure if the day length were actually different, we'd still feel the same. Like, we'd still feel like there is not enough time to do all the things we wanted, Because it's not really about the amount of hours in a day so much as our ability to use those for the things we want to do. It's not always easy. But I'm waxing poetic about time yet again, while I sit here and ponder instead of actually write code. I guess I could come up with something kind of like this, where I could do the distance is 2 times f/distance from let's see here, apply f/distance to take 2 from map first over clustered elements. Okay. What is that distance value if I do that? Whoa, that doesn't make sense to me. Okay. So what must be happening here? The first 2 points in this clustered list are not close to each other. See that? They're really, in fact, quite far away from each other. Someone was talking about like 2 months where it would be daytime at 12 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. Then 12 p.m. it would be night the whole time for 2 months. Is that referring to like the closer to the poles you get, the longer the days are and longer the nights are, depending on the time of year it is, right? Because when you're close to Earth's axis of rotation, the amount of time that the sun remains visible in the sky changes. Yeah, so in the territories in Canada, I think, if you go far enough, you get pretty close to the Arctic Circle. And there are people who live there that experience that exact thing. I also think, where else would it be? Is Greenland far enough north? Anyway, it's definitely strange. Definitely strange. Okay, I'm pretty much out of ideas at this point, so I think I am gonna get going. Because this throws a bit of a monkey wrench in the in the process I was trying to come up with. So that will actually be it for now. What I am really happy with, is to end on recognizing that it's not all bad. I am happy with the fact that I have the starting point of a somewhat useful approach to finding corner points. What did I just do here? Uh-oh. I messed something up. Let's just get rid of this. There we go. Okay. Let's make sure I can draw this. Hey, errors. Nice. I goofed it up. I don't know what I did here. Let's see. Oh, right. This doesn't make any sense. This should just be... Actually, should just be S like that, right? That should fix, I think, what I'm trying to get at here. Right, so as a starting point, that's quite helpful for finding cluster points, which is a really big step in the right direction for making simplified versions of sketches. Just out of sheer curiosity, before I go, I'm going to put one more kind of complex shape on and see how well it works. And then I will make my exit for the day. Okay, let's see what happens when I run this. New sketch. Let's go. That's not bad at all. Okay, so I actually have quite a good start on this whole thing, right? What I need to do is come up with approaches to further refine the points that are generated from this approach. But if you look at this, as a first pass, it correctly gets corners and endpoints on kind of strange looking shapes. So that's a pretty big win, pretty big step in the right direction. I'm really happy with that. So as the day goes, it's not a waste. Anyone tuned in right now, thanks so much for joining in the chat. Glad I could stop by. Love the stream. Be sure to stop by next stream. Hey, Monica, thanks so much. That's really kind. One thing I love about streaming is the ability to chat and spend time with people in this sort of kind of weird but fun way. You know, it's enjoyable. I quite like it. I also still managed to write some code, which is helpful. Oh man, Gaming Dominic, thanks for the follow as well. Right as I'm about to head out. Thanks for that. I will be back again tomorrow, streaming at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be chugging away at my CAD programming, and I'd love it if people stop by, give a follow, give some chat, all that kind of stuff. That'll be enough for me for the day. It's getting dark out, as you might be able to see, so that's about time for me to go. One last time, thanks so much for joining in. Thanks for watching. All of that kind of stuff is fantastic. I will be heading out. Have a good evening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.